Hello and welcome back to a brand new week of I'm a Celebrity Facebook Lives. I'm TV features writer Kyle O'Sullivan, and I'm joined once again by our showbiz camp leader, Mr. Mark Jeffries.
Hello.
So Jeffers, lot to dissect from the weekend. There's been quite a few complaints from fans and of some former Jungle Queens about that it's quite easy in there this year. The celebs are getting it too easy compared to other years, eating very well, hot water. Do you think that's the case, or are these people just a bit bitter?
I thought, to be honest, I think Vicky and Scarlett have got different memories to what I think of the jungle being like. I think it's plenty tough enough in there, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of reasons why. For a start, it's freezing cold. I've been over in Australia, been lucky enough to cover it from the Mirror in Australia as well. And for a start, you're camping out there and it's 25, 30 degrees. You're essentially, if you're not doing a trial or a task, you're sunbathing. It's quite a nice life. If you like camping in the outdoors, there's worse places you could be than Australia. Yeah. The people who are making these comments, Scarlett and Vicky, they've not been to the castle either. So, I mean, ideally, you would go to both and then you would make the comments. And so, having been there, I mean, it is cold. I don't think you'd sleep in the bedroom very easily. Like, as I've said before, it's a bit like a graveyard. So, I think that's a bit different as well. The showers thing, maybe they've got a bit of a point there. But I gather it is only supposed to be tepid warm, this water. So it's not like a boiling hot shower. And again, when out in Australia, it's 25 degrees and you go under that waterfall. I think that's quite a nice way to get that. And you've got the lagoon as well over there. I mean, they've not got that. This is a watering can. It's not, it's not a power shower. I think they have had it quite easy on the food so far generally, but that has been a problem, I think, in the last few years. Is what happens is a lot of the celebs go in there and they want to do well, and they do well in the trials. And if every other night they're winning 10 or 12 stars, they get a good meal. And so it's hard to, there's not a lot the bosses can do about that. Maybe they should be making the trials a bit harder. But I think if they keep winning a lot of stars, obviously they're not hungry. And that's another reason why maybe we're not getting as many arguments, which is another thing I think lots of people like. They like to see a bit of tension in there. So that might be the problem, yeah.
I mean, that sort of leads on to the next point of there's been a lot of accusations of cheating going on in the trials, and especially during that live trial. I think we saw Jessie's hands weren't quite fit into place. She could move them a bit more. We had sort of Ruthie and Shane using their hands when they're meant to be using their mouths. Do you think bosses will start having to clamp down on that?
That was the live trial was a little bit of a joke for that, because Jess particular, she just wasn't locked down. I was watching it at home thinking this could be an issue. I think what basically happened was because the male team won, it wasn't really a problem because it didn't matter whether she got more stars because overall they won and they could kind of gloss over it. But I mean, yeah, ultimately her arms weren't properly in the stocks, were they? And she probably got a star or a couple of stars extra because of that. But I think the other problem they had with that was the people involved in the trial who were putting them in and stuff, they were wearing masks, but were presumably trying to stay as far away. I just felt like maybe the trial was too complex for the kind of restrictions that were in place, because they were getting quite close to the people organising the trial. In terms of social distancing, I just thought it felt a bit too dangerous. I'm not sure why they went through that. Presumably there's other ways of doing trials and setting them up so they can walk over to them and do them. And I just thought it didn't really work. And also it led to accusations that people were cheating. I think other people and other elements of that were cheating or pretending they had extra coins when it was bits of offal. So the live trial, I don't think worked as well as some other ones have in the past. But yeah, the right result happened anyway. The guys won. And I think if anything, Jess would have, got an extra star or two. So it's probably the right result, but it wasn't a great trial.
Yeah, and you could even see Ant and Dec getting a bit annoyed, sort of hurrying them along, like, I ain't got time for this. So looking ahead, so we've got tonight's trial coming up. It looks like a belter, so let's have a look at the preview.
Right, you've got to find each other.
There's another tunnel, AJ.
Jess, can you hear me?
Yes.
Jess?
I'm going through another tunnel.
Yeah, I'm going through another tunnel. Ah!
You okay? You're fine.
All good.
You got this.
Jess?
Yeah?
Jess?
Yeah. You've got this. You've got this. You've got
Jess?
this. You've got this.
Jess?
You've got this. I'm here, AJ.
Ah, Jess!
No, focus. Focus.
Hello? Hello,
You
Jess?
got this.
Jess, don't freak out!
Don't freak out. Don't freak out, AJ. Focus.
Where
Calm
are
down.
you?
that looks like potentially the funniest one of the series so far. Can you give us a few more details about what's coming up?
Jess. Yeah, I mean, it's shocking, isn't it, from AJ? It's just unbelievable. That is unbelievably at the start of the trial, from what I can gather, because they start off in 2 separate tunnels, and they then have to come together. And there's going to be artifacts and I think mess and stuff, and they basically have to find the stars in amongst these artifacts. There's going to be 15 rats, 30 pigeons, 80 scorpions, 14,000 crickets, 16,000 cockroaches, and lots more offal. We've seen a lot of offal in this series, but loads of thrown at them as well. So, yeah, basically that clip there shows them in the tunnels, I think on their way to sort of reuniting and then actually going for the main part of the trial. And from the looks of things, AJ is struggling from the off, which is really strange, because before he went into camp, in the chats with us, he was very adamant that, I've watched all the trials. This is my favourite show. I'm going to really go for it. And also, you would think this is pretty much one of the first trials he's done. It's a real chance for him to shine. He's going to get some more screen time, which his brother's been banging on about, saying AJ needs more screen time to show what, how brilliant he is, how fearless. And this first, he's just crawling through a dark tunnel there, and he's already screaming, isn't he?
Yeah. It's that's I'm a Celeb bread and butter. It's interesting to see. Obviously, Jess has been. She's done well, but she's got struggles. She's been screaming during other trials, and I mean that she's the one comforting him there.
Yeah, and we saw on ITV spin-off show this morning, the Daily Drop, they showed a clip just before they went to do the trial, and Jess was quite agitated, and AJ was calming her down, saying, "Oh, you need to breathe, you need to, take deep breaths," and the rest of the camp were kind of reassuring her, and clearly she's the voice of reason in there, and of the two of them, seems the one who's gonna push forward in this and hopefully get them some stars. I think they've got 12 minutes to get 12 stars, but I mean, I wouldn't back AJ to get too many based on his sort of screaming and shouting before the trial. The main part of the trial has just begun, so it's going to be a good one to watch tonight, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So we got a question here from Peter. What is Beverly eating? And she's supposed to be vegan. Now, I know this has caused a bit of controversy. We even have people disputing whether she is vegan just to try and get easier things. What was she eating during that eating trial?
Yeah, I mean, she said she's vegan since I think it was March, wasn't it? So she gets specific stuff. So it was in the eating trial. I know it was fermented tofu was the one that was really bad, but it did seem odd to me, because I'm sure there have been people in the past, vegetarians, who have done the trial and have then, for the purposes of the trial, eat some meat. But clearly this year they've decided to let her be allowed to eat sort of vegan products. I've seen some other people suggesting maybe in the main meals around camp as well, I think suggesting that she's eating meat. I don't think that's the case at all. I think with her, and I think Mo has a different diet as well. And they are sometimes given, I think, additional things to eat, I guess, in portion size with regards to how many stars they've won. So it's in proportion to that. But in the main, I think she would have to eat most of the same stuff as the rest of them. But yeah, that is a bit of a surprise that she only turned vegan in March. The other thing in that eating trial, though, was that the other guys, I think Vernon suggested that hers were worse than in terms of the smell anyway. But I don't buy that. I think they definitely had the worst ones. The testicles and the penises and that kind of thing. I'd rather eat a bit of tofu personally if it was given. I don't know about you. What of those options you'd take the tofu, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. So we saw. So there was a bit of a change for this series. On Saturday night, we had a highlights episode with a few clips, but rather than a brand new episode. There was a bit of outrage online. A lot of people saying it ruined their weekend. We know your weekend was ruined by Spurs a few hours earlier, but what of the new highlight show?
Yeah, I thought it was. If I'm honest, I thought it was a mistake. Next time I see some people at ITV, I'll be asking them for the exact reasons why they decided to do it. It might have saved them a few quid. Obviously, there's no live broadcast, but in terms of the backlash they got, I don't think it was worth any savings or whatever the reason was. I don't think they'll be doing it again next series. Let's put it that way. They don't normally do it in Australia. I think the problem was maybe they were worried about running out of material that they're using a lot of stuff from the day before. You know, you use right up until we see the trial is done after the live show, and then they tend to use that footage the next day. So I think they were maybe worried about with having the live trial on Friday. It meant that they'd already used that footage on the show because it was live. So I think there was maybe a concern they were going to run out of enough material to do a live show on Saturday. But the highlight show had plenty of new little clips in. The thing that was annoying was it went right back to the start. I mean, anyone who is a big I'm a Celebrity fan, by then they've watched that on the hub. They've watched it on they don't want to see them all abseiling again. We've seen them abseil about, you know, I've seen Jordan be sick at the top of that mountain about 10 times. I don't need to see it again. And so I just think it was a big mistake that they could have packaged it as a, you know, exclusive clip show or something and said it was new stuff, but from the whole week, if they were worried about running out of material. And I thought Antitech dealt with it really well last night. They sort of mocked it themselves. That they made the point that, you know, they were aware of the criticism, and you know, it might have given them a night off because they probably pre-recorded the clips. But I think given the choice, if they could go back, you know, they'd do a live show and they'd be there on Saturday night as well.
We got a question from Robin here. Where do ITV get the critters from? Obviously, it's normally in Australia they're a bit more there, but now in Wales, where is there some sort of new system in place?
Yeah, we were asked a similar question the other day. I will try and find out a definitive answer. I know that they're normally sort of bred in farms. I think it is possible to do that in this country as well as Australia. And so I imagine in the months leading up to the show, they've been sort of basically reproducing all the critters. I think you're able to buy these things wholesale, and I think that's what ITV do. I think that wouldn't be a problem to get them here, as you know, the same way they get them in Australia, basically.
Now, the other big talking point, we've seen, obviously the celebs are banned from communicating with people back home and their families, but we've seen a lot of hand signals going on, little gestures. I know you've been practicing them, Jeffers, if you want to show us a few of them. Yeah,
so first of all, you've got Vernon behind the left here. If Tess is watching now, I know her family reads the Mirror, so if she's watching, I miss Tess too, so that's what he's doing to say to her that he's missing her. Vernon also quite cheekily mouthed his daughter's names on the live show as well, which I know went down well with the family. So he's been getting a lot of communication to his lot. You've got Shane Ritchie. Shane Ritchie does a sort of hand signal like that, and he's got his two fingers there, two below the nose, and the fingers all represent all his kids, and I think that's some sort of sign that he's missing them as well. And then you've got Giovanna as well. Giovanna just puts her whole hand like that, and that's for her kids, Buzz, Buddy, and Max. I think they sometimes do that between them. So so there's lots of stuff, and then on top of all that, you've now got these the writing on the hats as well, which we just saw there with Victoria Derbyshire. That's the name of, I think, her kids and maybe a fella as well. And so there is a lot of it going on this year. I don't mind the symbols so much because I think, you know, that's a bit creative. They've obviously discussed that. It's quite hard to stop that, isn't it? You can't sort of ban. You can't. Vernon's arms tied behind his back, so he can't do his little thing at night. You can't stop it. But I think that the hats is a bit, you know, it's another level. I'm not sure whether that's a good or bad thing. They seem to have this year. They seem to have really been missing their family, or certainly there was some tears very early on.
First night, wasn't it? Even. Yeah,
Jess, who we saw there with the hat with Noah, which is her daughter. She seemed to get upset very early, and I found that quite strange because they're not, you know, they're not even in Australia. So sometimes they're away for a lot longer when they're in Australia. Whereas here, I think Noah, for example, was allowed to stay with Jess right up until a day before she went into the show. So actually, the time apart is less, but they still seem to be feeling it a lot. I mean, personally, I've been away from my family sometimes for months and months, and it doesn't bother me at all. But perhaps that just says more about me than it does about the celebs, I suppose.
So we've got a question from Shelley. When is the first person to be voted off, and any idea you think it might be? Yeah, we're still waiting for official confirmation of which night it will be. If I was based on previous series, I would think it would be the end of this week, perhaps a Friday eviction, perhaps an improved Saturday show instead of the highlights. We get an eviction then. There's quite a few. I've got to be honest. I think we're coming on to talk about favourites, but outside of the sort of top six,
there's a lot of people not doing a great deal at the moment. Yeah, I think Jess was right down there, but maybe doing the trial, I think that's definitely going to push her back up. Holly, I don't think it's been quite quiet in there as well. She I think might be under threat. Unfortunately, when there's 12 of them, there's not really enough time for them all to get a sort of 5-minute slot. Even someone like AJ, I thought was going to be a big character. Up till now, I don't think he's done a lot. He's going to scream a lot tonight, but all that's probably going to do is get him voted for another trial. So I don't know whether that helps you in terms of eviction either.
And obviously, talking about a potential winner, is there anyone other than Jordan that's going to win it? I know he's now the odds-on favourite to win, but maybe has he peaked too early? Because we have seen that in previous series.
Yeah, I mean, he is still definitely the one to beat. As you say, Ladbrokes now have gone odds-on 4-5 with him. And most of the time, an odds-on favourite does go on to win. The things against him, as you say, is we're not quite halfway through yet. We've got well over a week to go. And it's unlikely he's going to get chosen for trials now. So there is still a chance for someone else. The way the betting is, it's him, then Shane, 4-1, so it's quite close. And then Giovanna and Vernon are the next two. The only thing is, I sort of look at, in terms of voting, maybe Vernon, Shane, Jordan, they strike me as quite similar in terms of who might vote for them.
Yeah,
So that might sort of spread the vote out a little bit. And Giovanna hasn't done a great deal yet, but I know she is very popular. Still think she's got plenty of time to shine. As I say, we're not halfway through yet. She seems quite fearless, in the couple of trials she has done. I think she would like to do more trials, and maybe if she does get that chance, she could be a contender. But yeah, Jordan's definitely the one to beat. Another big sort of tick for him, if you like, is he was voted to be camp leader, and that's a vote from the public on the app. And that's probably the first time we've been voting for actual popularity, if you like. I suppose you should vote in terms of leadership as well, but people are clearly voting for who they want there. And the fact he won that vote is a really good sign that he could be king of the castle, I suppose.
Definitely. So we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks for joining me, Jeffers. And obviously, stay tuned tonight, guys. It looks like it's going to be one of the best trials of the series. And tune in tomorrow for another Facebook Live with The Mirror.
Cheers.